podcast. Like
Antonio. All right, so we're talking the one and only Dream Warriors tonight. We got part 3, and I'm going to tell you what I got on hand, fellas. All right, I tried to go all out for this. I went and I grabbed me some Diet Coke and some Folgers, baby. You know what I'm saying,
dude?
And I don't know how this is going to work.
This is honestly,
I don't like coffee,
dude. This is the.
Do you get like the instant coffee?
This is why this is why your show is the best around.
You know what I'm saying, dude? I don't want to do like a full scoop because actually, if you watch the movie and you watch closer, when she goes and she like takes her imaginary thing, the spoon's empty, so she doesn't actually even do it. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be haggard. But you know what I'm saying? Is this like that's like a fair amount? I'm not a coffee guy, so
I think you probably need some more, right, John? I think he needs like a
dude. It says a full spoon.
Spoonful, man.
It does.
Yeah.
It does say heaping.
3 words.
I don't want to do all this shit.
3 words.
I'm gonna pull a little bit of the movie magic from the movie, and I'm not gonna do all this shit. This is fucking stupid. I was just telling John, I don't want to fucking die doing this. Nope.
Dude.
Oh shit!
You didn't even wash it down, dude.
There's a lot in there.
He like coughs in a fucking. Oh shit! That's funny.
Hold on.
How does it feel, dude?
Yeah. How's it feel to be a Dream Warrior?
I feel like I'm gonna fucking die. But I have shit all over my teeth now. This
Dude, you're not going to
awful.
bed tonight, dude. You're never gonna sleep.
You know what? I can tell you right now, it's because you actually did chase it down and actually did eat the coffee, unlike Patricia Arquette. You're gonna be the one that gets recast in this in this reboot that Antonio's pushing for so hard.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah.
And truthfully, I think I have to preface too that I'm not a Diet Coke guy either. So I don't know if it's actually the Folgers, the fucking grounds, or this that makes it even worse. But I have to get that coffee out of my mouth.
Yeah, Diet Coke. Not a fan.
Dude, awful. What a fucking terrible invention.
Diet Coke.
Goddamn.
Straight trash, dude.
Holy shit! All right. So we got 1987's A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. This is sick. Where does this put you at? This puts me 1 year before birth. How about you fellas? 1987.
Hey,
I was 4 years old.
He was 40 years old when this came out.
Oh, dude, shit, you weren't born yet either, Antonio, right?
I know. I was born in '88, dude. Let's go.
Dude,
yeah, there we go.
I was already 40. I was already 40 when this came out. I went and saw it with my kids.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, so what? Oh, fuck. I just realized there's like a huge wad. It looks like almost like spit or some shit, like a dip. There's a huge wad of fucking coffee.
Hell yeah, dude. That's
a mess.
Also known as a bonky.
Dude, you know what? Every one of your audience right now, you know what they're thinking? They're thinking, this motherfucker's crazy.
Fucking stupid. Yeah. Absolutely fucking stupid.
They're like, what the fuck are we watching right now?
Dude, they're like
that was awful.
Crazy.
I feel like that was like one of those like whack attempts to back in the day, like when Jackass was popular, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking get in a fucking a grocery cart and I'm gonna tip myself over, you know. And it's just like not even cool. Like the result wasn't even anything great.
Dude,
of that.
This is better.
No, this
better
is
than me.
10 times, 1,000 times better.
Oh, thank God.
This is like straight up
better.
Yeah, this is like method actor shit.
I've got the movie on. I've got the movie on right now, by the way, you guys.
Oh,
beautiful.
Nice. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. All right, so this is the third entry, and one thing I wanted to kind of twist, and it was something cool that I actually ended up finding out about the movie. So we were talking yesterday about how Wes Craven apparently was involved, you know, kind of with part 2. And I had figured out, because I thought I read something about that, and it was that he didn't want anything to do with part 2 because he thought there was no point in a sequel. And then part 2 did so great box office wise that they actually initially reached out to him to write a part 3. And that was what you were talking about, Antonio, as far as the new Nightmare, like the initial idea was for part 3.
Yeah.
And earlier in the movie, there's a scene where Neil, that doctor that's involved, you know, in the fucking, like, in the group and everything, him and Nancy are talking, and he mentions that one of his clients or one of the kids had cut off their eyelids because they couldn't sleep. Do you remember that? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so that was actually supposed to be Wes Craven's character in this initial like sequel that Wes Craven wrote. Wes Craven was going to be the one that cut his eyelids off because he didn't want to fall asleep from Freddy Krueger attacking him and the rest of the cast.
Dude, this is amazing. I never knew that.
Awesome.
How sick! I had
John,
no idea.
Did you ever know about the original script, like the first script that he wrote? Bro, well, when we get to a point, I want to read, like when we get to the ending and when we like just later on, I'd like to read like certain things about the movie that were supposed to be different, because it's pretty insane. Because if Wes Craven's script would have been written, people would not have the relationship that they have with Freddy Krueger today. I mean, it's pretty fucked. Like,
oh shit, damn. Okay.
But I mean, yeah, when we get there, I'll read like some excerpts from that. But the fact that like they got Frank Darabont to like do some of the writing and kind of updating, like, pretty unbelievable. I mean, I think like knowing, you know, what he went on to do as well is like, I don't know. I think it's just like remarkable. I mean, the guy that's like responsible for like, you know, writing, you know, like adapting Shawshank to the big screen, which, you know, some people consider like the greatest movie ever,
of all
right?
time. Yeah. All right.
So it's pretty cool to kind of see how that came together from a script standpoint.
I think the same too. I think it's pretty insane where like you're looking at some of these early. I mean, even when you look into like Patricia Arquette and Johnny Depp in the first one, and like, you know, and
Larry,
holy shit, what is Lawrence Fishburne? I was gonna say, you know, you're seeing these cats at these, you know, such young age, and the development that they have early on. I think even Antonio was mentioned with like Johnny Depp, where it's like specifically, you know, it's like you see a cat who knows what the fuck he's doing right then and there. Like it's pretty sick to kind of see like where that branched off, you know, years and years later too. And as far as like Lawrence Fishburne, absolutely killing it. Patricia Arquette, you know, like I feel like does a great job. Character wise, I feel like everybody in the movie, the acting wise, is pretty damn good.
Oh,
you know, there's a lot of fucking horror movies that it's like corny as shit and like it kills.
They should have won 10 Academy Awards, honestly.
Dude, let's start out by talking about our first impressions of part 3, because I specifically feel like this one was like one of those. I don't know. It hits differently. Part 3.
Yeah.
You know. So I'm curious. I'd rather you guys start, just because I'm proposing this is how we start. Like,
okay.
What is? Do you remember when you first saw this movie?
I feel like it was like earlier, probably right around the time of like watching the other ones. And I think more importantly, even to that, was it made more an impression, I think, when I was younger than when I watch it now. And it might be more of a compliment to the other movies, which I go back and watch now and I'm like, for whatever reason, and you know, this might be a little bit of a, you know, like a spoiler for like when we talk part 4, but I watched this and it could be the fact that I feel like maybe I'm the most familiar with this and the original. But watching, you know, back on it, it's cool. I feel like there's like a point in the middle where I'm just like, there's a kind of lull. And I don't know where the fuck it is, and I don't know what it is exactly, but just for some reason I feel like there's kind of like a point where I'm like, this is a little too long. Like they're kind of trying too hard to dig, you know, even deeper into the characters, more than like the first one. You know, the development, I'm just like, give me some kills, goddamn. You know what I'm saying?
Mirror that when they're in like the middle of like they're all dreaming, like they're all in like the sleep study thing, and they're trying to like basically like, I don't know what they're doing at that point. they're kind of like all discovering like that this is like a real thing.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like it does drag a bit, I think. And yeah, there's some things that are like a little whack about part 3, but I'll get into that later. I mean, I was just curious, like your initial thoughts when you first saw it, because I specifically remember mine. But Antonio, what about you?
Yeah, mine was basically like, I was still afraid of Freddy, but then I wasn't. You know what I mean? Like I was like afraid of him, but then I was like, okay, like he's kind of like this dude's kind of funny. You know, like I think specifically like the scene, and I feel like it's probably more pronounced now, like as I've seen the movie like over and over again too. But like I think like looking back, the biggest turning point of I think like how I viewed Freddy was like his first kill, because it is scary, but it's pretty fucking funny. You know what I mean? You know, so I think it kind of changes. I think this is like the turning point for the character, in this movie as a whole is a huge launching pad. If Dream Warriors didn't exist, like I don't know how successful any movies after it would have been, because they had to get somewhat creative of like, okay, like we did the first movie, right? We did the second movie, which was like kind of like a, you know, if Freddy possessed, you know, a person, right? Like, where do we go from here? And so on paper, like, it's pretty fucking weird. I think without like, you know, this idea of them like, you know, like confirming the bringing of people into your dreams, and then also like being able to bring in other characters and such, but also like needing to, like developing these powers. So you get these powers in the dreams, right? And it just changes everything. So that was kind of like my first impression of it, was like I was scared. I was still scared of like Freddy, but like I was seeing him more as like kind of comical, as like a character that was like entertaining, you know, like I guess I don't know if I would say lovable, but you know what I mean, but like endearing to a certain extent, like not like any other like horror or like characters.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's interesting to hear you say that, because I have the exact opposite experience with part 3. So I think I mentioned this in the first episode that we did last night, but I started out watching 4, then it was 6, then was 3. And honestly, I feel in part 4 and 6, like he's kind of at his wittiest. Like he's pretty fucking funny in both of those. Like it's really, neither of those movies has a particularly creepy vibe to it. It's like sort of like more comical, just entertainment. Going from 6 to 3, dude, from the second that 3 starts, where it's like got that creepy organ at the beginning, that really fucked up like score at the beginning while she's making the paper mache house, you know, and then her first dream sequence is like, dude, it's pretty nuts. I remember thinking,
with the snake thing.
I remember I was 7 or 8 years old when I watched all of these, and I remember thinking like 4 and 6 were like, oh, these are supposed to be scary, but I'm just having fun, you know? I remember putting 3 on and being like, shit, this is fucking way different. Like, so I kind of got the opposite feeling. Yeah, I was like, damn, this one's actually kind of fucked up.
Oh yeah. I think from like that first kill, and you mentioned, you know, it being kind of witty, but like there's something about, and now I'm hearing maybe even they straight up had a fucking rubber band that they're just stretching like right by a microphone. But every time that he's walking and he has like the veins that are coming out, that sound, my fucking God, dude, is disgusting. I mean, it's already kind of like unnerving enough, you know, thinking about, and I thought it was kind of cool too, like in like studying the movie as opposed to just watching to enjoy it, how like in the first lines of each character, they all talk about how they're gonna die. Like it's all a foreshadow of later on how like they come in and he's got the puppets and they're like, you know, he can't, you know, carve or whatever, and he's like, well, because of, you know, and then later on like that shit's happening, he's just, you know, Freddy's kind of like doing the cuts and you look down, the shit folds, and on his feet the skin's pulled up. I'm like, fuck, dude.
When my brother and I first saw that part, I remember both of us looking at each other when like the veins were coming out, and we were just like, "You fucking kidding me with this shit?" we were like, "This is fucking scary." Like this is, and it's like, it's not scary like like, oh, I'm Antonio, I'm scared of Freddy. You know, it's not like that type of scary, but it's
Whoa.
like it's like, but it's like you don't have to be scared to see something and get that feeling like this is scary.
Yeah.
Right?
Like there's a serious threat behind it.
Yeah.
Even,
Totally.
from I think from you seeing like those later entries and the, kind of comedic, presence that he has, especially that being kind of the introduction to him into the movie. You're like, oh shit. And not to mention, like, I honestly love the corniness of the stop animation that they have, as far as the claymation and the kind of build that they did, with like that first puppet and then he kind of rises up at the end of the bed. I'm like, oh shit, that kind of gives you like an energy, like this is going to be interesting.
They did film that backwards too. They built the face first and then like slowly kind of molded it into a solid ball. And that's how they filmed it backwards.
Oh shit!
So like the stop motion of how he's got like the circular spear, and then all of a sudden it becomes Freddy's face. They just started out with the face, and then went backwards. Which it's kind of like when you find out they did it like that. I feel I had like kind of like a duh moment, like oh yeah, but it's still cool to think about
the movie.
Like,
magic behind it. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's. Man, I do agree with Antonio that Freddy does like kind of start to become like funny for the first time in this because he's really not. I mean, I think he's funny in the first one, but I think it's like, yeah, I think he's funny in the first one, but like,
it's almost not on purpose.
Yeah,
though. Like
it's more bizarre.
Yeah,
it's more just like this guy is like really.
Unhinged,
fucking
humor.
Weird. But in part 3, I feel like I feel like he's really not funny. Actually, there is a funny part in part 2 where he's like, where again maybe unintentional, but the kid's like, "Hey, I'm trying to help you, man," and Freddy's like, "Help yourself, fucker." That part's pretty funny, but I feel like they intentionally have him have more one-liners, like this like. Comedian Freddy in part 3 is where you see that for the first time, kind of.
Well, and I think like too, like I want to make sure that that this was captured. Like when I say that the movie is scary, like I do think the movie is scary. Okay,
Backpedal.
Backpedal. But when I say that this is the first movie that like Freddy is like, I feel like you kind of get like the comedic piece, like feel of him is like you were saying, like John, like in those later movies, it becomes like, I mean, it's I feel like it takes away from it being as scary, right? However, this movie, the reason why I love it, and it is my favorite in the series, is because there's a very, very good balance to that, to where it's not like too like ridiculous. Like, and we'll talk more about some of those dream sequences in like 4, but I feel like these in this movie, like I guess aside from like technically the second one, they're all like pretty fucking. They're all pretty scary. He's still pretty scary, even though he's starting to be like fun.
I almost wonder
if somebody told me that they were scared of Freddy in like parts 4 or 6, I would be kind of like very surprised. I'd be like, how can you be scared of Freddy in those ones?
Yeah.
Like
he's still hunting your dreams, though, brother.
3 still definitely is frightening.
Yeah, what becomes scarier in those movies is more of the practical effects, not Freddy, right? It's just like the fucked up shit that like ends up happening that they're perpetuating in their dreams of like how they die, and less on like Freddy and his stuff.
So, and something that I thought was kind of interesting too, and like I think is like, I don't want to say common knowledge, but it's talked about a lot where people mentioned that like Robert Englund, tossed a little bit of his own flavor when he's killing Jennifer and pulls her into the TV with the "Welcome to Primetime" bitch shit. And I almost wonder with like that and that being, something kind of in the moment, would the series have taken a turn as far as, having the comedic approach further on in than it did, as opposed to whatever the fucking line was supposed to be? Would it have, continued being more serious and more scary? Because I feel like that was kind of like his thing that he was tossing in, and they're just like, that's brilliant, dude.
It's almost like a turning point in a way. Like it's like it's probably the first line in this movie where you're like, holy shit, that was definitely meant to be funny, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you think
and
about
lands,
it, you bring up
absolutely
a really
landed.
excellent point, because like, welcome to primetime, bitch, is like a very famous like Freddy line, you know?
Yeah.
And like that whole dude, when Zsa Zsa Gabor or whatever the fuck her name is, like when she's like, when Dick Cavett becomes Freddy, and he's like, who gives a fuck what you think?
Yeah.
That part's awesome. That's what I would want to say to her on the top show. You know?
Dude, I mean, and like that whole effect too, you know, not only, I think it's just kind of like one of those things where it's as wacky and kooky as it is looking at it. Like, they probably initially thought that it was going to be something kind of scary, but you look at it kind of from afar and it's like his fucking goofy, just a pin drop of a head coming out of this TV and his face poking
with the antennas. Dude, pretty sick.
It's what you get for trying to be a fucking movie star.
So fucking ridiculous. Holy shit. I mean, so like, I think there's different things too, you know, where there, like I say, like there's kind of like lull moments in between, but it can't be, you know, it can't be outshined by the fact of like the practical effects that happen in this. And, you know, we were talking like these first couple of kills, this fucking snake monster or, you know, snake demon thing that is happening. Like not only is it absolutely insane, you know, to kind of see it being captured, but however they filmed it to where when old girl's getting slammed on the ground, like all the dust is flying up. It looks like she got the shit beat out of her. Like,
dude, yeah, how did she
getting
not
that
just,
slam?
Like, break every, like, paralyzed instantly?
Oh, dude,
they had to change the.
They pulled something off.
Change the color of the snake, because initially it was pink.
It
looked too much like a wang.
Giant dick.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I remember hearing about that. Like, what's the name of that band? John, you and I have talked about this before, but the band that has like the album cover of like, it's like a death metal or slam metal band, and they have like, it's like a picture of like a cock, and it's Freddy's head as the cock. We've talked about this before.
Oh my God. What?
Dude, it's insane. It's an insane. We've talked about it. I've said it to you before. I'm like, dude, what is this?
So it's like their album cover is actually like Freddy Krueger's on the album cover?
Well, it's like a cock.
Dude, what the fuck?
Dude, it's like a cock. What? It's like, but the face looks like it's Freddy, and I figured that's.
You know what I'm gonna say? You know what I'm saying? Hey, this sounds like something that's straight up just in your dreams, bro.
No. Dude, I'll find it and I'll send it in the chat. Maybe you can make it. You can put it in, like, splice it into the YouTube.
Dude, Eric, this fucking guy's like, yo, you know this album cover? It's a cock.
I'll just edit it in to like float past all of our faces, like as we're talking about this, and just have it go.
He's like, he's just excited about this giant dick on this album cover that none of us have ever seen.
Dude, it's such a weird. It
sounds great.
Art, but
so yeah. I really do wish I knew what you were talking about, though, because like you're claiming that you and I have talked about this.
We have talked about it for sure, because it's like so ridiculous, and I think that was like the intention of it. But it's like a slam metal band, and I remember like us talking about it.
Oh,
I'll find it.
Oh, dude, are you talking about the Violence record?
No.
No? Okay, because there's like that Violence record that's got that weird, like, sort of phallic thing that's got like the mouth on it. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay. No, this is like really supposed to be like disgusting and vulgar and like on point and not like subtle in any way. I just like I'll have to like look it up later.
Yeah, definitely find it, because I'm curious.
Oh man, that's
anyways,
great.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was supposed to be pink, I guess, apparently, like in the movie, which would have been like really, really fucked up.
I mean, where would have the series gone if they would have just left it pink? Jesus, you know, if they're gonna try to bring a comedic role into it, have a giant cock.
Yeah,
sounds like something that would be more appropriate in part 2, since that's like that's like notoriously like the gay one, you know, because it's like
absolutely freaky deaky.
There's so many like references to like basically like homosexuality and like
I did not
gay culture and
know
that.
that. I did not know that at all.
What do
I
you
know
mean? Like,
I didn't know that that's what that movie, like, the two was referred to or known as being like the gay, because I don't watch it. Like I told you guys last night, I don't watch the second one as much because I just like, I liked it more than like Jason Goes to Hell, but I just don't like those horror movies that do those kind of tropes with like the whole like the possession and like the character type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I am actually going to go back and watch it because
it's
I was
interesting
reading
to
an
hear.
article and
Dude, you would love part 2. I feel like part 2 would be like your favorite one, not because of like the other stuff, but because of like,
where's it going?
like because it's like it's just very dark and very strange, like the movie. It's like
I
is.
probably watched it in probably 10, 15 years because I've probably watched it maybe 2 or 3 times and like ever. And I skip it every time I go through the series because I'm just like, man, like it doesn't have any ties to anything else in the series. And then I just don't remember being very enjoyable.
It does though.
Mm-hmm.
They reference Nancy's diary in part 2. So
mm-hmm.
like they find Nancy's diary. So it is like the next family moved in afterwards.
Yeah, but after 2, like it's not referenced again in the series.
No, you're right. But
not directly.
Yeah, so it's like basically
right.
like just kind of like a standalone really at that point, like after when 3 comes. But anyways,
mm-hmm.
I want to rewatch it because I haven't seen it in a long time. But I did not know about like the gay, that it's considered like the gay. When I was looking stuff up about the movie today, I was kind of surprised.
When you watch Never Sleep Again, that long ass documentary that is amazing,
mm-hmm.
they go into all that about it, and it's like you can't really tell if it was like intentional or if it was like almost accidental, but I don't feel like how it could possibly be accidental. Like it had to. I
think that whenever we get to the point where we talk about like stuff about how this script was supposed to be, it may not have been accidental. It might have been intentional based off of how Wes saw the character. So who knows?
Maybe, but Wes didn't have anything to do with that one.
No, but I mean, the ethos of the character, I mean, he worked for New Line Cinema. I'm sure he knew what they were doing, but like the ethos of what that character is supposed to be, when it goes back to the whole deal of like, he's a child molester and he's also like in a child killer and all that stuff. And like some of like the sexual overtones that you have like in all of the movies and stuff like that. Like, I think
just a predator overall.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that like could have been something that was like brought into it. I haven't rewatched 2 in like a long time, so like maybe I'll feel differently after I watch it again.
Yeah, I think you really should, and then we should talk about it because like it's pretty awesome. That one, it's really pretty awesome.
I mean, there's definitely redeeming things to that. I know that they have, and I'm just realizing now I've never watched. There's a documentary on specifically just that movie, and really? Like the cover of it's very neon. It's like a dude with a Freddy glove grabbing his crotch, like very like that's where the direction of it is. I would assume was intended, but
they literally go to like a gay bondage bar, like where like all like there's a bunch of. I mean, it's like
in the movie
in part 2.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, dude, that's where they see the coach. Their PE coach.
Oh yes, I remember that.
My God!
When Freddy kills him, he's like strapped to the wall, and they're like whipping him with towels. Yeah. You can see his bare ass. Like it's like
weird.
Weird.
Yeah, it's like
I watched the USA cut, and it was that's why it explains it was only like 5 or 10 minutes long. You know what I'm saying?
That's a true travesty is to watch any
I think
movies
it's interesting
that are like edited for TV.
It's also interesting to think about when that movie came out too, like because like the 80s were like an extremely homophobic decade.
Yeah,
right. So it's like
there wasn't anything forefront like that, at the time.
Right. So it's like
I mean, there was,
since it's clearly intentional what they were doing with it. It's like, how did they expect that to be received in at the time? You know what I mean? Like now you can watch it and you can be like, it's interesting. This one kind of stands out for these reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like at the time, it's like, dude, there was so much homophobia in the 80s. It was like fucking insane. You know, and you have a movie like this that's supposed to be like the sequel to like this massively successful, basically accidentally successful horror movie, right?
Yeah.
And how did they expect all that to go over? And in this time period where everyone's like afraid of gays, basically, like it's like a actual like a fear mongering decade for like homosexuality. So I think that's an interesting. I mean, we should really probably be just talking about part 3 still, but
yeah.
but no, it's interesting.
It is interesting, and the fact of I mean, that was kind of where the success of that movie. That was where the whole interest, for Wes came back. Where ultimately he didn't end up, like full on, taking a role in part 3, but the success of part 2 and him seeing like, holy shit, like I guess a sequel to this actually could work. And then they go and do a third entry, and then continue on with more and more after that, after the fact. One of the silly things that I do remember of the movie and kind of watching back and I thought was funny was the whole scene where all of a sudden they're coming from, I think it's Joey, and they like break in the room and everybody in the circle sleeping. Like every one of these motherfuckers just fell asleep that in the middle of conversation.
That was the whole exercise.
Yeah.
It's like they were doing like the pendulum, and like I think it's interesting because it's like, dude, these people really are stupid, because it's like, dude, these kids are dropping like flies. They've obviously, like, people at the hospital don't believe them that this man is like killing them in their dreams, but the two people that do believe them are like, let's all go to sleep.
Yeah.
Let's all indulge in this.
And then Joey gets put in a coma because he like wants to like fuck that nurse or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, and then they wake up and they're like, oh my god. And it's like the what's it called? This part's happening right now as we speak on the movie.
Okay.
But like the main hospital dude that like is like the boss or whatever, when he like basically fires him for this, it's like you're supposed to kind of think like he's the aggressor, like he's an asshole or whatever. But the truth is that he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? They're like prescribing these controversial like medicines to these suicidal kids, and now this guy's in a coma. It's like, you guys obviously fucked up.
Yeah.
But like, I think that when you watch this movie, you're supposed to like side with them, but like, how could you?
No. Yeah, absolutely not. When part comes up where old boy ends up having come and get him bitch carved into his chest.
Yes.
Sick.
Wow. Unreal.
Dude,
I absolutely
Freddy
love that.
Freddy is like the Seth Putnam of horror. Like, he's just like, it's just gonna like taunt you and just be like, fuck you.
God.
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah. I love that.
That's
awesome.
I mean, as far as like, where do you find? So something that kind of drove me insane, and I was trying to watch a couple of different versions of this movie. The soundtrack to this movie.
Oh yeah.
You say what you're going to say first.
It's what got me in the docking.
Okay, that part is sick, but as I'm watching on streaming and I'm watching like on the DVD version that I have, Dokken, sick. But I'm talking about the actual score of the movie is straight up a Charles Band, like fucking Puppet Master, like inserted generic ass like organ sounds.
Dude,
do you hear what I'm hearing?
I love Puppet Master, Antonio.
And so do I. But
wait, no, I'm thinking of Page Master.
Page Master.
You love that movie with Macaulay Culkin?
Dude, I think Page Master is fucking. We should be talking about
Page
Master right now.
That movie is awesome.
No, they replaced. So obviously the Dokken song. What's interesting is that the original movie doesn't have any Dokken music in it until the end credits.
Right.
The original movie just has that awesome score that you're talking about throughout the movie. But in the DVD, I always thought, because I had the DVD box set too, I always thought that the DVD version is where they eventually replaced that score in certain parts with like Into the Fire, by Dokken.
Oh, okay.
Which isn't even like
but does it?
Yeah, they do. I mean, at least on my version. But the VHS copy that I have, that I watched before the DVD box set even came out, actually maybe before DVDs even came out, because I'm fucking pushing 90 over here.
I think the VHS box set and DVD came out at the same time. Am I wrong, or is that not a thing?
Wait.
I don't know anything about when the VHS. I just know I had a VHS copy of this movie.
Okay.
Back in the day, like before I think DVDs were released, right?
Oh, got you.
But I just know that when I would watch the VHS copy, that those Dokken songs weren't even in the movie until the very end.
Right. Okay. And I feel like that must be the same with like the DVD version too. And more recently, I've kind of found myself on the streaming, whatever it's on, HBO or whatever, and watching. But I catch myself over and over where I'm like, dude, what the fuck are they doing? And there was kind of like an interesting article where they're going back and forth and they're talking about, and it's not necessarily a knock on the score of it. It is what it is. But like compared to the first one and how, certain moments, like when they're in the fucking alleyway and just like simple sounds and shit, it doesn't have to be some sick like score. You know what I'm saying? Like it just simple things, simple sounds that can accommodate to the scene. I felt like that was something that this movie was like driving me insane. And maybe I should go back and watch like the older copies that I have of that too, because the streaming wise that I've been watching recently, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Well, think about, just devil's advocate here. Think about the time when this came out, though. Like,
yeah,
what is it? 87? You said?
Yeah.
I always thought it was 88. Oh no, 88 is part 4.
88 is part 4,
which is awesome. Because like part 4 is like the Youth of Today Nightmare on Elm Street, basically.
Oh yeah.
But dude, if you think about 1987, I mean, this is a time when like I don't think people could help themselves but have like radical keyboard scores in movies. Like, was there ever anything that they would have done differently? Like, I don't think so. I don't think it's possible not to have that in a movie.
Okay, so there's a little, and this is okay. So I have this book, right? This book called Blood on Black Wax. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. Couple of cats out of Canada, Aaron Lupton and Jeff Spurglatt. Okay, yeah. So they do interviews and they do like deep cut dives on movies and shit, and they were talking about each of them, and it's kind of sick because like the very first thing actually that they cover is A Nightmare on Elm Street, but they do this whole like spread where they've got fucking like part 1, part 2. They talk about like all like Charles Bernstein on the first one. Christopher Young was on the second one, which I never knew. Like Christopher Young's done a whole bunch of shit. But then on part 3, it starts talking about how there was like a pretty like notable dude that ended up getting a lot of his stuff cut from the majority of the score and then replaced years later, like on this recent like vinyl box set that they put out. So I don't know, like as far as
Mondo did, like in 2017.
Yeah. So apparently,
I don't think I knew that. I don't remember the person's name, but I thought that so I personally never had like an issue with the score. I love that you like
fucking goofy
the score of this movie, which is awesome. But like I never really thought about it. But I was always under the assumption that the person that did the score for this movie was actually like a really well-known composer.
Yeah, right.
And he did other like popular movies and acclaimed movies and stuff like that. But I guess I've never really been like, I don't know. I guess I never really thought of it as being like as terrible as you feel, honestly.
I'm loving it. I love this
complete ass.
I think I also think
the dude's name's Angelo Badalamenti. That's what it says.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But that apparently, like I know the name too. It's like completely drifting from me what different shit that he's done. But that a lot of the shit was like replaced. So I should have dug further into this. I just like thought of this a couple of minutes ago to look into this, and it kind of gave like a whole like explanation to it. But you know, I'm gonna start a petition for that motherfucker's music to get back into this movie and
I'm gonna
compliment
look into that. I'm gonna look into that too, because I remember that box set coming out. Because I had a friend that worked at Mondo when the box set came out, like when they did it, and I meant to buy it. It was like $250.
Dude.
So it was like, I was kind of hoping that I could like get this person's like discount, and come to find out, like they like didn't get a discount on it for some reason. So I just never got it because I just felt like it was hard to pay $250 for the box set of like of just like the score. I don't know. Maybe at some point I'll get it. But what I wanted to say is that I think that Into the Fire is the song. That's the song on this.
Totally. Yeah, dude, we got to talk about Dokken for a minute, because this movie, I remember when I was a kid and I saw this movie, the VHS that we rented had the Dokken video at the end. Like after the credits, they played Dream Warriors at the end. And I didn't really know anything about music, but even then, as a kid, I still thought it was like corny as shit. And I was like, man, this band fucking sucks. What is this? And only later in life did I learn to appreciate how awesome that fucking band is. The music video is awesome. And Dokken's Tooth and Nail record is honestly a great, great metal record. Like, that is like, dude, George Lynch is a legit riffer. I don't think a lot of people know that, because they probably would write them off as like a bad hair metal band, which they are. But I'm just saying, I'm thankful to this movie for getting me into Dokken, because I actually do listen to that record quite a bit.
For a second, I was thinking that you were saying that Dokken released a record on Tooth and Nail.
Oh,
and now I'm realizing
Dokken.
Completely different thing.
Slip shoes, MXP extra.
Fucking Christian metalcore Dokken.
That
split release with Striper.
That's straight up. That's straight up unfortunate that's not the reality. That Dokken wasn't a Tooth and Nail band. Like, that would be fucking awesome.
Dude,
you know what? If Dokken was a Tooth and Nail band, I'd probably own their entire discography instead of just one record.
All first press.
I completely forgot that was a thing, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, they have a fucking record of that.
They have a record. Duh. Tooth and Nail record. That's incredible. No, they have a record called Tooth and Nail that's awesome.
Right. Okay. And you know, and it was funny too, because like out of hearing that record, and this was completely out of negligence, but seeing this music video, did you guys ever have the impression, you know, just at a youthful mind, where it was like, man, did they base this movie around what they did in this music video? Or is this just me? Just a complete stupidity of thinking like, wow, some of these parts of this movie were based from like the shit that they didn't hear. Obviously, complete vice versa.
Yeah, I think it is the opposite, but it's impressive how like the whole video, because usually, I don't know, I guess
it's done really well.
Bands have done this before, but it is kind of funny to think about like Dokken like getting like the whole setup. Like, they're playing in like the fucking Freddy cave or whatever, you know? Like,
yeah.
And like they've got like skeleton guitars and stuff, and Freddy pulls them into like the boiler room and stuff. So it's pretty cool. I've always thought it was really cool when like a band did a song for a movie, and then they did the music video like to the movie, you know?
Hey.
I've always thought that was really cool, but I mean, it's a great video. I think they did an awesome job with it.
It's a dying art. They don't do stuff like that much. Soundtracks aren't really what they used to be, you know?
Totally.
I'm not going to bring up soundtracks again, you know what I'm saying? But I will say that I do miss that aspect. I do miss, you know, like just last night we got off here and I was like, you know what? I'm going to fucking put in Freddy vs. Jason. You know, every once in a while, just a good comfort movie is something that's absolutely stupid. But the soundtrack that went with that, you know, like an absolute metalcore, you know, ripper, some may say, you know, nostalgic in a sense. But just listen to some of that shit, dude. I'm just like, I wish that more movies did this shit, whether or not it's like radical bands or not. Like, I feel like even there was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like one of the remakes they did had like Hatebreed and Slayer and Remembering Never. Where is that?
I mean, I just think that like all that stuff nowadays is just like not. It's one of those details that is like left out of movies and part of the promo and all that stuff. I don't know why. I don't know when that turning point happened, but like, I mean, not related, but definitely not heavy, but like still like important, you know? So like, I think like all in all, it's just not something that like they do much anymore. It's a kind of a bummer.
It is. It really is. I think like there was like it was a cool promo item too, you know, to where like you could pop open the thing and maybe see like a couple of still images that you weren't seeing on TV or you weren't seeing like in the poster, you know, and like kind of opening up shit and like, oh, you know, the release date or whatnot. Like I used to love that shit. I mean, I think it was like maybe Scream 3. I remember going to like a local store to buy the fucking CD of that and just having all those like small details before the movie came out. Then the movie comes out and
I've got like 3 different things, like 3 different like pieces of actual music for that Dawkins single, like with Freddy artwork on it, like that was released officially.
So there was a record. I know there was a vinyl.
What's that? I have 2 12 inches and 1 cassette tape.
That's awesome.
Oh shit! Okay. Now I had the vinyl. Was it just a single, or was there? Am I mistaken? Was there like 3 songs on that?
There was like a few other tracks on there.
What was it? Do you remember?
I'd have to go look at it. It's upstairs. Should I take a break and go get it?
Too much work.
Yeah. You go get the massive crowd that's listening.
We won't call you out on being a poser of actually owning this record. It's all good, bro. Don't worry about it.
Listen, man.
It's all good.
Listen, man. I appreciate that. Now I'm just gonna go get my pillow and watch this movie. I'm scared of Freddy now.
Hey, man, it's a scary movie, bro. It's a scary movie.
I will say, as far as poser wise, myself, and it's something that I'm mad about because I'm asking about this record, and today I'm scouring through shit. I found this book. I found a couple other things, you know, a little bit later in here that I'm going to show off here, items-wise. But I don't know where the fuck that record went. I have a Critters soundtrack. I got a fucking Jaws. I can't find my fucking Dream Warriors, and I don't know what would have happened to it, but at some point I might have it, and I'll be able to pop it back out, dude, and I'll be able to join the crowd, you know what I'm saying?
John stole it from you in your dream.
That's why he's got 2 of them.
That was
your bitch.
No, dude,
that was your nightmare sequence.
I have one, but I remember I got it from this dude that we stayed with. He lived in Michigan. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, me, motherfucker. I live in Michigan.
Dude, that was the joke.
Joke. Unreal, dude. For whatever reason, this is like glitching out right now, and I'm like peeking every once in a while. I'm like, what's being said? So I completely missed if there was something said between somebody in Michigan. What was the fucking joke? I missed it. God
dude,
damn it.
I said that when we stayed. I said I only have 1 copy of it, but I took it from this dude's house that we stayed with in Michigan.
Okay. Motherfucker. Dude. God damn it. And we had to explain it twice. Jesus. All right, with the power of editing, I can edit all that out, and we're fucking, I still don't look stupid.
Don't edit that. That's critical. Don't edit that out.
All right, so what? Like we're talking, you know, like practical effects and you know some of the kills, you know, that's the reason that we're drawn into these movies, and we get to. I'm trying to think of what is it Taryn or is that her real name? It's Taryn, right?
Yeah, Taryn.
That ends up she has like the shoot marks. She's up her the track
beautiful
marks.
And bad
and punk as fuck. Wow.
Yeah, for real.
The whole time I'm watching, I'm just like, wow, you're not punk. You know, I hate to do this kind of meta, you know, situation, but it made me think of, you know, the You're Not Punk song. So I felt like all of a sudden, you know, I'm looking at her and I'm like, wow, a meta as fuck moment. And here we are, folks, the meta as fuck moment. So with her segment and her kill and, you know, all of that, like, how do you initially, like, see that, you know, when you're younger, like, are you aware of shit like that going on? Is that something where it's like, is that even a thing? Like people shoot it. Like, I feel like this was kind of my first impression of seeing that was like, what are they even doing? Like, what's going on?
Same. I didn't know anything about like drug addicts or heroin or anything like that. Yeah.
Scary.
That's what makes it more fucked up, though, is because, like, I mean, by that time, like, I knew what shots were and I didn't like them, right? So now you've got a fucking handful of shots of whatever the fuck that is, you know? Like, that shit sucks. That makes it, like, scarier, I think, because you don't understand, like, especially, like, being young, like, not understand, like, what is really going on, you know, with it, and why. So that was pretty fucked up.
These gross marks, and you know, I think that's kind of something too, where it's like you have the different, you know, like earlier kills where they're almost, you know, like scary to a sense, and then it kind of got to that point where all of a sudden like shit got very, very real and almost dark in like a real world, you know, point of, you know, people and like issues with drug use and how, you know, it's a continued like epidemic and shit.
Some of the kills in this movie I feel like would be like the equivalent of like a trigger warning in 2023. You know what I mean? Where it's like Freddy's like terrorizing people that have like really fucked up psychological issues. And he's like almost like making fun of them in a way. Yeah. Where it's like, holy shit, man, this guy's for real.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty wicked. Wicked.
Will's a good example of that too, you know?
Dude, I die.
Oh man.
I die when he grabs him and he's like, sorry, kid, I don't believe in fairy tales.
Yeah, it's so good, man. It's so good, man.
What the fuck did that nerd-ass motherfucker expect to happen? Like, dude, you're not gonna fucking become a fucking wizard master and kill Freddy. Like, does this dude really think that's how this is gonna go? Like, you kidding me? I pretty much root for Freddy in that scene. Like,
well, I mean, and we're talking about superpowers here. Can we like backtrack a little bit on Patricia Arquette's character and like when they're like, oh my gosh, what would you do in your dream sequence? And like she does a cartwheel.
Dude, I hate that part.
Is that it?
It's pretty fucking
yeah,
sick, dude.
It's like doing like some like 2-second tumbling or something. Yeah. And it's like,
I'm like, what?
You could find someone like within 5 people you talk to, someone can do that. Like, kidding me?
It's just like, okay, I mean, like, you know, full on, you know, rooting for my man. Like, he cannot walk. He's in a wheelchair. He's standing up. He's flying. He's got powers.
Yeah, Will's powers were pretty cool. I'd say, like, arguably, like, maybe the coolest powers out of all of them, even though, like, his kill was, like, pretty fucking funny.
Dude, you know what? His kill is, like, awesome in the same way that it's, like, funny when, like, the dude hits the propeller in Titanic.
Yeah.
You know? Where, like, you're not really supposed to laugh at it, but how can you not? The dude falls from the top of the ship and, like, hits the propeller and does, like, 80 flips into the water. Like, that part's obviously incredible. And, like, it's almost funny in the same way where it's like, this dude can't walk and all of a sudden he's, like, empowered and becoming a wizard, and then Freddy's just like, fuck you, kid. Like, and also when he says it's the chair for you, kid. Like,
yeah, dude, unbelievable.
Yeah.
What a bummer.
I wonder if like the writing room for this movie, like somebody was just like, really? You're gonna make fun of this disabled teenager? Like, really? And then the other people were like, yeah, it'll be awesome.
Dude, there's definitely like certain aspects to these movies that push the limit, and I think it all kind of goes back to you know, where like you kind of feel in those senses of, you know, bad for that character, but then you peel it all back to you have an old boy who is the character, and you know, kind of at this point you're almost like rooting for, or kind of like waiting for what it is that he's going to do next, you know, and it's just like he's still the same piece of shit that he was, you know, 2 movies ago. One thing that I thought, and I wanted to kind of touch on that was like pretty fucking wild with this movie is when he pulls his shirt open and you see like the kids' fucking faces all over him, like the souls like screaming out.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Wow.
Well, and that's why like I was saying earlier that like this movie is really like the springboard for like really the series. Like you take one aside, like this movie is really what everything else ends up being like based around. And like the whole idea of like him getting power from like the souls of like the kids and everything that, you know, those are things that just like weren't really like emphasized or really touched on as much in like the first one. Like you kind of like things start kind of like filling in the blanks to be able to sort of like put together what's going to be like really the Nightmare on Elm Street series, which is really like starts at 3 in my opinion.
What do you guys think about the backstory with like the nun and her explaining like the origin of Amanda Kruger? I think that part's introduced in 3 and it's really cool also.
Yeah,
pretty
introduced in 3 and then emphasized in 5, you know, like later on, you know. So I think it's like when she says in the movie like when she says like trapped in like the trapped in like the asylum or whatever, and then they emphasize in the 5th one like raped by 100 maniacs or whatever, you know, like
son of 100 maniacs.
That is like nuts, you know, like it's just kind of crazy to like in that whole like kind of like scene where they're talking about it in 5 and everything is pretty fucking jarring.
They actually
because like
show in 5, they actually show like Amanda Kruger essentially trapped in the asylum with all of these fucking lunatics.
Yeah,
and it's like, dude, it's pretty crazy. But I just think like the whole aspect of like the nun and like her kind of like being imaginary, you know, like but not in this movie is really cool. Like obviously like Neil is like the only person that really talks to the nun, you know. But like all those scenes where he like talks to her and like he eventually like meets her up in like wherever like where she explains like everything that happens, like it's really creepy and adds like a totally different feel to this movie, I think. And it also
you start learning more about who this person is. Like you kind of like get a little bit of it like from the mom in the first movie, right? But like now you're really digging into like some of the stuff with Freddy's backstory, which you know, honestly, in my opinion, in some ways it makes it like scary. It should make it like less scary for people, but I think it makes him even scarier.
It really ties in with the end where Neil and Nancy's dad go to the junkyard where Freddy's remains are, you know?
Yeah.
And like the whole thing where he's pouring the holy water on the bones, like it's all, I think that's contrary to part 1, which we talked about how much I hate the ending. Like I think the ending of this one is actually really cool.
Was there something I was missing as far as like why Neil specifically was the one that was seeing her? Because I was trying to kind of dig into, and it's like it's really weird because there's so much information online about movies and about different, you know, aspects, and there comes a time where all of a sudden I'm on Google and I'm like fucking asking like the relationship between Neil and Nun and such as, and like it comes up with some other fucking stupid bullshit. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this is where my Sunday's fucking gone. I'm sitting here looking between the relationship and some fucking bullshit.
Dude, that's awesome. I have those moments all the time where I'm like, have I really spent the last like 10 minutes looking at this? Like, what am I doing? Like, sometimes like the things that I'm looking up on Wikipedia, like, I'm like, why am I looking up like the production of barbed wire on Wikipedia right now? Like where did that come from? Like how did this happen?
Definitely had those moments. But yeah, I don't think it's ever explicitly stated like why.
I think it, you know what I think? I think the nun, I mean, this is just what I think. Like, I think the reason that Neil is the one that is seeing the nun is because the nun is essentially like not real, some type of spirit, right? The nun knows what's happening to the kids at the psych ward. Like the kids at the psych ward all have this in common with the parents their parents killed Freddy. So it's like the nun is essentially attached to this situation and is trying to essentially provide some sort of like savior aspect to these kids and try to help. And she essentially knows that Neil is like their only hope, right?
Yeah,
because like he's like the bleeding heart that like he's the bleeding heart that believes the kids. He works with the kids. He believes them and all that. So essentially, the nun comes to him.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. So, I guess that kind of. I mean, and that would make sense. That would make sense because like there's that point earlier where they're talking about like the hypnosil and like, you know, he's like, well, I don't know if this is the best thing for them. And then the one older lady that comes in and she's kind of like, it seems like a higher, like superior position or whatever is like, you know, basically what the fuck are you doing? Like what, you're going to sit here and administer these things that aren't even, you know, and I think you're onto something with that too, where it's like, I'm trying to think of what a comparative.
The first adult that like is actually like listening to the kids outside of like Nancy, right? Like that's like actually like, all right, like the kids might be onto something. I'm going to try to help them, right? Because up until that point, it hadn't happened, right? So that would make a lot of sense, John.
Yeah,
I think I'm into that idea.
Yeah, it's like it's like the nun is the one that's looking to help, and she knows that Neil is also like the connection, like the real live person that she can get through to help these kids, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like that whole aspect of the movie. I think it's really cool.
Now, like, as opposed to, you know, where we were yesterday, we're talking about the original, we're talking about the first movie, we get to that point where we're at the ending, and I feel like that's where all of us collectively kind of said it falls apart there. Where do you feel like, you know, the conclusion to this movie, where do you feel that kind of intersects as far, or not intersects, but it compares to, you know, 1 and 2. I feel like obviously that very last moment of 1, it is better and more, you know, more refreshing than watching the first one.
Definitely, I think that there's kind of 2 endings happening. In this movie, there's the ending where it's like they're parallel universes, like the ending where Neil and Nancy's dad are like essentially on this mission to like basically destroy Freddy from the spirit world, right? Like they're trying to basically dispose of the corpse of the remains, right? And that in turn destroys Freddy in the dream world, right? So it's like it's almost like there's 2 endings because Freddy is attacking the kids and Nancy while Neil and John Saxon are trying to, you know, take care of this in the real world, right? So I think that's kind of cool that the endings are happening at the same time. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's like it's a much better...
Wait. I'm just thinking at the very end, is it Neil that ends up going and sees the... Oh wait, no, that's not the fucking... Who is the tombstone that he sees like at the burial site?
Amanda Kruger.
Yeah, it says Amanda Kruger, but like
shit. Okay, that's
he,
right.
Like, kind of puts it together that like I think that the spirit, like Sister Helena, you know, the spirit is supposed to be her. Maybe it's a little confusing.
No, I think that's what. Yeah, I think that's what the assumption was. At least I've always thought. I could be wrong. Is that it was always Amanda Kruger that was talking.
Right.
It wasn't this other Helena or whatever. That it was actually Amanda.
Right. Yeah. Totally. One thing, just to backtrack a little bit, like one thing I think is unique about the ending to this movie, and actually kind of unique in general, is that like there's 3 survivors.
Yeah.
Which really, which we obviously will get into when we talk about 4, but like it really sets up the next movie so differently than other movies go into like another sequel, because like Nancy's the only one left alive in part 1. Even though that ending totally fucking confuses everybody. But like, there's only 1 real survivor in part 2.
Right.
You know? It's really cool that there's like a whole, it's like these 3 kids survive at the end of 3. And it's like, I'm sure people thought that they were going to make another one in the 80s when they saw part 3, you know? but it's like not everybody dies. So it's like the idea of 4 starting out with like 3 people from the last movie is actually really cool, because it's almost like more realistic in a way, where it's like you have like a good grounds to establish a group of main characters, instead of being like, all right, so Nancy's just gonna, or I'm sorry, so Kristen is just gonna have a whole new group of friends in the next movie, where she kind of does, but at the same time she's like, you get a sense to where she came from, because she's still got her 2 surviving friends.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I
I
like
definitely can't wait to talk about like that piece tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but next week when we talk about 4. But I do agree that like that. I mean, it goes back to like why I think this is my favorite out of all of them, because I think it's got the best ending out of all the movies. Like, it makes the most sense, right? I think that like it does enough in terms of giving you like backstory, some character development. You've got attachments to these characters. Nancy comes back, which is like huge, right? Like in terms of like trying to like create some stability in terms of like this now like trilogy, right? And I think that you know, I just think that when you look at the movies that come after it, it's just not as like clean of like a start and an end and like all the stuff in between. It gets a little like messy, kind of goes off in like other different tangents. You start becoming more interested in other aspects of the story, whereas I feel like this did such a really good job of just making it like a good movie, you know. It gets a little bit more things, you know. This, I think the movies after, like John was saying before, it starts getting a little bit more like, you know, a little bit more like zany and more like more, I don't know, maybe more Freddy focused. But I'd actually say that, like, I'm saying all this stuff about 3, but the storylines from 4 to 5 actually are stronger because of them actually dedicating themselves to specific characters, which I wish that they would have done with 3, and they decided not to do that. 4 and 5 is really where they start like really like emphasizing like basically another Nancy and Alice, right? And we'll talk about that next week. But like, I just that's why I really like this one a lot. And I wish that Nancy would not have died. Like, I kind of wish that she would have continued in some capacity, because I don't know, I think she was like an important character, and like the sentiment of the story becomes less as you get longer in the series, because the Elm Street kids aren't around anymore. So then like, what the fuck is like, what is, you know, like, why is this still a thing if really there's no, you know what I mean? Like, I know that they talk about it, but it just becomes like the sentiment just changes. So, I mean, I think the ending for me is on point. It's great. And I think that like how they tied it up in terms of like having the 3 people live, 3 characters, you know, 2 of which that I feel like the audience does connect with, you know, between like Joey and Kincaid. I thought was cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and this will, I mean, it'll be something more that we'll talk about, like the next one we'll talk in part 4. But Kincaid, I mean, as far as like a character within this movie, like, was so sick. And I absolutely fucking loved him. And, you know, I guess us going to next week and talking about part 4 kind of turns out to be a little bit of a bummer too. But I mean, it was absolutely like a ripping character. And it was somebody that, you know, like, I was glad that, you know, makes it toward the end. And then, you know, like, I just kind of go back to thinking like, oh, you know, if they're setting this up and they said there's a part 4, they've got, you know, my guy playing Kincaid, they've got, you know, a couple of the people coming back. And then my man not lasting too long, you know, pretty big bummer.
Yeah, it's definitely like a thing that kind of bums me out about 4. Otherwise, like, I think 4 is amazing. I think if we would have had some continuity from characters that lasted from 3 to 6, would have been amazing.
Yeah,
that's really what I would have liked, but you know, at least that there was some between 4 and 6, and that was that, you know. But yeah,
I could say standalone movies beginning to end, I think I could agree as far as like this being, you know, maybe even the most solid, the most, you know, refreshing. You know, my minor gripes, obviously, like I say, if I could listen or if I could watch a movie without the score, I'd be, peachy keen, you know what I'm saying? I'm perfectly fine. Or the original score, if that, if that may be, it just kind of silly and takes me out of the moment of some of the creepy aspects. One other thing I'm just thinking of for whatever fucking reason too, in the beginning, when she enters the dream world and she goes into the house and the little girl standing there and she's like, this is where he takes us.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, fuck that. Yeah. Every time, fuck that. Anytime that scene comes up, it just, for whatever reason, like, there's something about that poor little girl's, like, portrayal of that is fucking heartbreaking. And, like, even having kids aside, like, it's just one of those things where it's like, holy fuck, dude, like, grim.
I mean, yeah. It's, it just goes back to, like, what we were talking about the last episode where, like, is he a child murderer or is he a child molester and / murderer? And I'm just going to stick to my decades-long backpedal with this, and that is that they never, ever talk about him being a child molester in the entire series. Like, they just don't. That remake is fucking trash anyway. So it's like, whatever.
Okay, can I speak a little bit to, like, the script? I just want to read, like, just something, like, overall of the script and how, like, what the intention was with it, as well as, like, what the alternative. I know.
Look, I'm not trying. First of all, the coffee grounds straight to is insane and is, like, making me jittery. I'm trying my best to not be fucking talking this whole thing because I'm not going to be able to fucking sleep. But the taste in my mouth has not gone away through this whole thing. I've been licking my shirt. I'm trying not to do this, like, right in front of the fucking. It is disgusting. So I'm trying to drink that to get that out because this is awful.
You fucked yourself up, man.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Antonio, go ahead.
All
for nothing. Fucking nothing.
Dude, that's awesome. So okay. So this is. I'll talk about, like, what the script was supposed to be. So it says the script with Freddy is supposed to be much more vulgar than he ever appears on screen, casually dropping the dreaded C word in references to females, using homosexual epithets in reference to males. At one point, he tells Kincaid that your asshole belongs to me, and then proves his point by shoving his hand so far up the young man's rectum that his glove emerges from Kincaid's mouth. It's apparent that Darabont and Chuck Russell wanted Freddy to be a killer that we loved, while Wes Craven and Wagner wanted him to be a killer that we hated. So it's, like, kind of crazy to think, like, and you can find the script online. I actually think I'm going to read it of what that original script was. But from everything that I've read and heard, it's, like, pretty insane. And I think that if those things would have actually happened in the movie, it could have been pretty scary and jarring, but I don't think you would have the series that ended up becoming. I think it might have been, I just don't know what else you could do, right? Because you have to have some level of, like, attraction to this character, and, like, I don't think that you can with that. But they also mention in here that the original ending was that when Nancy died, that Nancy was supposed to basically be, like, the protector of like, dreams, and she was supposed to live within the dream world at that point to kind of help protect. It was supposed to be, like, a happier ending, kind of like what he wanted to do originally. So it said that in the wrap up, we learned that Nancy, though dead, visits Neil in his sleep every night. And just before the closing credits roll, the camera pans to a papier-mâché model of the old Kruger house, crafted by Joey, which Neil has kept as a memento. And inside one of the windows, a light turns on. That's how the movie ends. To kind of, like, sort of, like, allude that Nancy is, like, she is a protector and will fight for them in the dream world, which kind of goes to, like, this idea of, like, man, if Nancy had, like, there was some level that character could have coexisted with Freddy in this world that they end up dredging up for, like, 4 and beyond, right? It could have been cool. I mean, I would have been interested to see, but I think that was also Wes's way of trying to be like, all right, let's try to, like, have no more sequels after this. He was just, like, so reluctant to have sequels. And, like, I guess it's worth stating too, like, I don't know how to say this. Like, I think Wes Craven's, I like Wes Craven a lot, but I mean, like, in terms of output and of, like, good movies, there's not a lot of them, in my opinion. So it's like, so it's kind of like funny to see that like these studios, which normally you'd be like, yo, these guys are like really fucking with this person's like artistry, like kind of saved his legacy a little bit, because like he was offered to do 2 and didn't. Then saw how good 2 was and was like, all right, like I'll come in and do 3. And then they were like, hey, this script's like too fucked. Like we needed to do a few like rewrites and stuff. And they kept like the essence of it, like the Dream Warriors piece and everything like the stuff that made it what it was. But pretty crazy that these like studios came in and kind of saved them from like being a kind of self-sabotaging him a little bit.
Now let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, am I mixing this up with maybe like a documentary or some maybe bullshit like blooper reel or some shit? But there's a moment at the end where Neil is sleeping and there's like a small house by the bed with the light turning on, right? I'm not making this up.
Yeah, but there was like a reason for that, is what he's saying. Like there was like a backstory that was like
they didn't like
that makes that make a little bit more sense, but they got rid of it.
Yep.
Oh, but I mean, so they still kept that in to where, like, if you would have known any of that backstory, because I saw that and I'm like,
here's like another piece too. Kristen tells Neil that she's gonna move to New York, right? And New York is known as the city that never sleeps, right? Which is like why like she's moving there. And that also is like supposed to play in with like the ending, because that's where it's sort of like alluded that like she's been visiting me in my dreams, and that like, kind of alluding that Nancy's supposed to be somewhat of like a protector now that Freddy is gone, to kind of help ensure that he doesn't come back again. So I want to read the original script just to kind of see like what that, kind of like what this could have been, just to kind of know. But yeah, that's basically like how they ended up doing it.
Damn. Dude. No shit. Wow. That's fucking sick.
I have a question for Antonio.
Yeah, what's up?
All right. Hypothetical, okay?
Yeah.
Weekend Nachos makes a shirt with Freddy shoving his entire glove hand up somebody's ass and out their mouth. Back of the shirt says, "Your asshole is mine." Would you wear it?
No.
I would not wear that shirt either, but I think we have to.
I thought you were going to ask Antonio to be the model for it.
Yeah, could we do your face?
If I could get an artist to have Freddy shoving his entire arm up Antonio's ass and out his mouth, like, man, I'll pay him. I'll pay that artist double.
Oh, holy shit!
Whatever their going rate is, I'll double it.
Yeah.
Where do you find, and this was something that excited me, and maybe it's just to talk about this other movie for a second, but where do you find, as far as Nightmare on Elm Street 3 falling in line versus other thirds in other franchises? So we're talking Friday the 13th Part 3. We got the 3D joint going on there. You got Jaws 3D. A particular favorite of mine, if I could say, we have Leprechaun in Las Vegas. Have you guys watched this?
Dude, I haven't rewatched that Leprechaun series in a long time, but I did try to watch the first one maybe a few years ago, and it was kind of rough. It wasn't what I remembered.
It's not. I guarantee you. You watched the wrong movie. If you're watching Leprechaun 3 in Las Vegas, it is pristine. Top notch. I'm telling you. You got to go back and.
I've never seen it.
Oh, dude.
How could that?
It's fucking awesome.
Let me ask you this: how could anyone possibly doubt that movie is awesome? Like, based on what you're saying, like, is it even like? Is there any doubt? Like,
oh, dude, I'm telling you,
Vegas,
like, there's no way that's not a good movie.
It is fucking
John,
amazing.
which Child's Play is the one that takes place in the like the boarding school, the military boarding school? Is that 3?
That's part.
I think that's 2.
Yeah, that's part 2.
I think 3 is like the military one.
Well, Andy is like sent to live with like a different family in part 2.
Okay, no, the military one is what I'm talking about. That's 3?
I think you're right.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
It's been a long time since I've seen Child's Play 3, but I've seen Child's Play 1 and 2 like recently.
I like 3. I'm trying to think of 3s though. Like I think I think Dream Wars is better than Jaws 3D. What was the other one you said? What was it? Oh, Friday the 13th 3D.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Friday the 13th.
I think that the Friday the 13th series, like the first one, I know you were saying yesterday is like you really don't like that one, but I think that Friday the 13th series really picks up again with the fourth one, in my opinion. So like I would say it's better than the third, and then you know what? It's not better. Oh fuck, I don't know. That's hard. I think Season of the Witch.
Dude,
I don't know. Season of the Witch.
You can't really go. Dude, you can't really consider that though. It's like.
Yeah, you're right. Like, yeah, thanks for bailing me out. That's really hard.
Season of the Witch is just like not a Halloween movie. It's just not.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So then let me think of other things.
Here would be my verses. My verses would be this movie versus The Army of Darkness, and maybe that's not even a elongated franchise, but I had to choose Army of Darkness. I did a little bit of map of different things. Army of Darkness fucking rules. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's slapsticky, but I can never not go for that movie. It's amazing.
I haven't rewatched that in a long time, but I'm gonna say without hesitation it's Dream Wars. Like no question.
I'm gonna have to say that regardless of where it ranks in terms of like threes for other series, I would say that automatically Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 is one of the best, if not the best, because of the fact that like when you look at the series of 6, like most people would say 1 or 3 are like the best of the whole, like 99% of all people would say either 1 or 3 is their top choice. You know, like some people are just automatically going to say 1 because it's like the original, you know, but like you're not going to get many people saying that 2, 4, 5, or 6 are the second best or the best. It's always going to be 1 or 3, you know? So the fact that they come back and do it.
Yo. Holy shit. Awesome.
Hey,
dude.
Antonio, when you and Jody got pregnant, did Jody come up to you and say, "It's a boy"?
In the music that plays, pretty sick, honestly.
Oh man,
no, but
I
would.
What if your wife dressed
Jody,
up as Freddy Krueger?
Babies?
What if Jody dressed up as Freddy Krueger? Not like the female Halloween costume Freddy, but like an actual, like she actually put on the pants, the sweater, and the hat, and like, that's how she told you that you were pregnant with Miguel.
That would be the nurse that gets nude awesome. Was supposed to have a whole like Freddy bust on in this movie.
Yeah, it was actually supposed to be Freddy with breasts,
with boobs. Yeah, and they're just like, this is too far,
dude. That's the thing.
Somehow that's too far.
You really. The big problem with all ideas is when somebody says, "Oh, that's going too far." Think about all the incredible ideas that would have come to the surface if some asshole hadn't been like, "No, guys," like we would have had. We would have had Freddy shoving his hand up Kincaid's ass.
Man,
if somebody
that poor guy, that. You know, and that would have been, I think, a little bit more notable than what ends up happening to him. Unfortunately, like at least he would have had. God. You know, that legacy. Yeah. What a bummer. Okay. We'll talk about that in part 4. So we're talking earlier, and you guys had kind of, you know, had some grumbles of this reboot and somebody that would play a Freddy character. What came to mind after
I messaged you guys about this. I was talking to someone and brought up Jim Carrey. And like, okay, like I think that could actually work. I know that John's like not into this like reboot idea.
No, dude, I'm into it. If they cast Jim Carrey as the new Freddy, I'm into it. That'll be incredible.
I think that would.
No shit.
I think that would be pretty. I think that would be pretty cool. I think if it, like, it's hard to think because like when you think of characters like this, it's always comes down to like who could play the character, which Robert Englund is. I mean, he's Freddy. Like, there's just no other way around it, right? So you have to figure out, like, who could do it, who could be close to it, be able to, like, capture some of that stuff, right? Because he's scary, but he's also funny, right? And, like, how do you do it? Like, Jim could do it. I think Jim could do it. Like, he could do it.
When you brought that up earlier, my mind was blown because I instantly started thinking about how much I would want to see that. Because like, thing about Jim Carrey is that like, he can fucking do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
He's kind of like Freddy Krueger. Like,
it's
true.
Yeah.
He's like his acting capabilities
detective.
And like
his
creativity when like portraying roles like is absolutely unreal.
Oh,
so
also,
I think like
the director for this movie directed The Mask. So just saying.
Chuck Russell.
Oh, wait a second. The guy that directed Nightmare on Elm Street 3 also directed The Mask?
Yeah.
That rules. I'm not really good with directors.
He did great.
Yeah.
Both movies. The Mask is also awesome.
Is the Jim Carrey thing like a rumor, or are they actually talking? Because
no.
I thought Jim Carrey retired.
Mm-hmm.
No. No. It was just like, all right, like this person, like, what do you think? Like, this person could be like a good Freddy if they were to do something like this, right? Have you thought about it? You know, that's basically it.
It kind of goes like hand in hand with the idea of like, think of when Robin Williams did like that 1 hour photo, or like you have certain people that are typically seen in that comedic light, and then you shroud them in some sort of a darkness, and all of a sudden they're just completely like not Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
Dude, holy shit. I honestly never liked him until I wasn't huge on Psycho, but he's in a movie called Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Yeah,
dude,
it's cool.
The movie is fucking. Have you seen that, John?
No, I heard it's awesome.
Oh, dude,
I've seen all those
fucking badass.
They're pretty good. What is it? Bone Tomahawk.
Bone Tomahawk.
That one, that scene towards the end of that movie is pretty fucked up, man. But yeah,
equally insane. Yeah, for sure. No,
so I'm curious. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about Samuel L. Jackson as Freddy Krueger?
I feel like there'd be way more motherfuckers. There'd be a completely different attitude to him.
Could he do it? And would all right? 3 questions. 1, could he do it? 2, do you think you would like it and want to see it? I guess 2 questions.
I think if it was taken seriously and it wasn't something to where like it was supposed to be like a schlocky like stunt type thing,
right, yeah,
not
like a scary movie type of thing,
right?
But like, yeah,
I think he's been in so many things, and you kind of like bring him back to. I mean, obviously the dude has had like an insane career, but you think of like shit like Pulp Fiction and just some of those quintessential roles that he's had throughout time. If they're sitting him down and they're really like prepping him, and it's something that he were into. I don't see why not, man. Like, it sounded very silly at first, and I was like doing awful impressions with my wife, and she's just telling me to shut the fuck up.
I can picture that too.
But the more that you think about it, I mean, I think that's kind of one of those things where I feel like if it were somebody famous, if it were somebody, kind of like them getting oh boy for the new It movies, initially when they announced that dude, and I'm just like, what the fuck? What is he gonna do? Like, how is he gonna fucking do anything for this role? And to me, honestly, loved him. I thought he did fucking phenomenal. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
Antonio,
no, he's sick.
What do you think about SLJ as MK?
I mean, what do you think?
I think that you could see it being awesome.
Yeah, I'm watching that movie. Like,
dude,
no
I even just thought of a perfect Samuel L. Jackson-esque line as Freddy. I could see him going up to one of his victims and being like, "You look like a bitch."
Dude, that would be awesome. Like a bitch.
Then just slapping the shit out of them and not even killing them, just like leaving them with that mark on their face.
But I honestly think that if he were to take it seriously, like, it wouldn't be like, I mean, it would be comedic because Freddy is comedic, not because Samuel L. Jackson is funny. But it was like, I think he could nail that, and I think that like he would absolutely alter his voice and try to do like a creepy Freddy voice. But it was just, I'll be honest with you, there was none of that humor at all in the remake, and like with Jackie O'Haley, you can't. I know you sing high praise of that actor, and I don't disagree with you. I think that like he is absolutely a creepy ass Freddy Krueger, and it's like a different take on it. But that's the problem. That's not Freddy Krueger. Like, this is why I don't think movies like this should be rebooted at all. Like, why? That's like when somebody like releases like when fucking like Damnation AD like releases like a Cure covers album. Like, all I have to say is like, why? What the fuck is what are you doing? Like, does the world need this? Does the world need this? That's a stern no. Like it's not even like, well, let's think about no. Like, the answer is no. The world doesn't need this. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really, really want to challenge Antonio's proposal that this series should be rebooted, because it shouldn't have been done in like 2009 or whatever, or whenever that was. And it definitely shouldn't be done now.
I didn't think about it. Like, I didn't think it should be done in 2009. And obviously we saw what ended up happening in 2009. But I don't know. Like the more I thought about it, truthfully, I think that there's just not been enough Freddy Krueger in.
And I can agree with that too.
Modern times at all. Like, I just don't think, like, I mean, the last time you saw Freddy Krueger outside of like the remake was what, Freddy vs. Jason? When did that come out? 2003? 2002?
Nah, he was on the Goldbergs, brother.
He was on the Goldbergs?
The TV show?
Freddy Krueger?
Full makeup. It was, I don't know if it was even a Halloween episode, but he appeared full makeup in a fucking full episode.
Dude, I love that movie. I mean, I love that show. I got to check this out.
I didn't know that either. But regardless, like, you know,
I thought you were just saying that to like fit in. You're like, dude, I love that movie.
It's like it's not a fucking movie. I'm like not even paying attention. I'm like, Goldbergs. I love that movie.
Dude, I love that wrestler.
That's with Samuel L. Jackson, right?
I don't know. I just think there just hasn't been enough Freddy Krueger. Like, I feel like, you know, there's just not I don't know. Like,
there's 7 movies.
No, but listen. Friday the 13th has a video game, right? And like, people like a video game that's come out like the past like 5 or 6 years, right? So like, they've done things in terms of like the legacy of like Friday the 13th. Halloween just had a new trilogy that picked up from like the first. Now, Halloween's an abomination when it comes to like timelines and everything like that. So like, I'm not trying to say like I want it to be anything like that, because they really have fucked up like a series that could have been just fine, you know, as is. But like, I don't know. I just think that like Freddy is a character that stands above those two in a way that is unique, and I just think that I would like to see more of him. That's all. I think that there's more stories to tell, and I'd like to see him. That's all.
Dude, if they made a Nightmare on Elm Street video game for like PS5 or something, like, man, I would literally buy a system just to play that game. Like, I would be ecstatic if they made a Nightmare on Elm Street video game in 2024. But like, that's obviously different than a movie, you know. But like, I mean, the original Nightmare on Elm Street video game for NES is like one of my favorite.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Video games.
I think
so sick. Have you ever played that, Eric?
Yeah. It's just as ridiculous today as it was when I was a little kid trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
Dude, there's interesting like takes on that game. Like, a lot of people criticize it because it's like, why are there like ghosts and bats and rats like trying to kill you in this game? I think that game is
you still have
so it? Awesome. So awesome.
Do you still have it?
Remember, yeah.
Dude, why the fuck is this not hooked up and like just a playthrough of what's going on here? Just a live 2023 playthrough of fucking. Did you ever beat it?
I did beat it. I didn't beat it until I was like late. Like, I want to say I probably beat it for the first time maybe 6 years ago.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I never beat it as a kid. But yeah, I started playing it. I got like a refurbished NES like sometime.
Oh, okay.
It was probably a little longer than 6 years ago. It was probably maybe like 8 or 9 years ago. But yeah, I got like a refurbished NES, and I got that game. I don't know where my original copy was that I had when I was a kid. It's probably in my parents' attic somewhere.
Sick.
But yeah, I remember getting that game right around the time when I saw the movies for the first time. Magical time in my childhood.
Man, it was a beautiful thing. Yeah. I was just going to note really quick too, because we're talking these characters and we're talking these actors and different things, and I had a couple of things that came to mind, and these maybe even let's just say that it were for like maybe like a short, and this was just something kind of like a character examination of, you know, Freddy, so to speak, and not even so much about the movies. And I was trying to think of people that throughout the years of watching, like, their performances are just naturally kind of creepy, first and foremost, before anything. And the first person that came to mind to me, and I didn't want it to be somebody overly like famous or whatnot, but kind of is Steve Buscemi. Absolutely goofy.
Damn, that's actually pretty good.
Eyes popping out, pretty silly. Like, but when you look at him, and sometimes just his kind of like calm demeanor, there's always been something fucking weird about that dude to me.
Dude, I could see it.
Yeah, me too. I like that.
I don't know.
All three of these suggestions.
Yeah,
I would like to see.
Okay, so John, are we back on the? Yeah, like we want some more Freddy in 2023.
I mean, if one of these three fucking assholes plays, I'm fine.
Okay. All right.
Like,
I mean, you know, but what if it was even just like a new sequel, so to speak, in a different dream realm?
That's the only thing that
does that suck?
The thing about the movies and like the endings of all the movies, to me, I just wish they weren't so like assumed to be definitive. I just wish they were more open. So like making another one, you'd have to figure out where you're going to make that sequel from, and it'll be kind of similar like they fucked up with the Halloween series, where they're making like sequels off of the first movie, and then they're making sequels just off of the second movie, and you know what I mean? And then you've got like specific other timelines. Like I basically I wouldn't be opposed to it, but it would have to be like really smart if they were going to just make, or unless they just made their own like standalone, where they sort of like, you know, picked up where, you know, maybe picked up where like 6 ended, and not like New Nightmare, but picked up where 6 ended, and that like Freddy's dead or whatever, and maybe there's something in that movie that like the people that moved into the house that he was killed in or something or whatever in the real world start discovering things, and maybe that's how it starts, you know. But yeah.
Let me clarify. As much shit as I've given you about this, which I will continue to do, I do understand to a degree what you're saying, because what you're saying is that like this is an incredible franchise, and if somebody were to do it good and do it well in 2024, it could be really cool.
Yeah,
right. I don't disagree with you on that, but I mean,
I think the thing
that's like when two people are like, hey, you know, we're really good friends. Like, maybe we could like have sex and still stay friends. Like, it's like, no, like you can't. That's not possible. And don't even try it.
Well, like what you said earlier about like,
but it would be great. It would be great, right? You're like friends with benefits with some like attractive girl that you're friends with, or boy, or you know, whatever. Like, that would be awesome, but it's not possible.
Yeah, but what you said earlier about, I mean, it goes hand in hand with what you said earlier about like The Cure and Damnation AD doing the cover album for Pornography, right? It's like, do we need that, right? And you were like, no. Do we need another like Freddy movie? No. Do we need any sequels to any horror movies? No. But I'm here for it. You know what I mean? Like I'm down. Like, you know, like, I mean, think about the people that saw the first Freddy the first time when I was and they're like, why would you do a sequel to this? Like, why do I need to see more of these movies? You know what I mean? So I think like, I agree that like, it's not necessarily necessary, but I wouldn't say it for most of the other series. Like, I don't really think I need any more Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, right? But like, I think with Freddy, because it's just been so long since he's had any type of entry into like any type of like true like cinematic ethos in any capacity. Like, I just feel like it's time. I think it's time to like consider like something unique and interesting to do with that franchise.
It hasn't been that long, man, because they did try it and it was fucking terrible.
I think, you know, like the thing that comes to mind for me is I like Freddy. I'll say I think you guys both are a little bit more like in love with the character than what I am, as far as like versus like Jason or you know, within Michael Myers or whatnot. The thing that I'll give above those other franchises though, and the thing that I can agree with what Antonio is saying, is the space of opportunity that there is to where these movies could go, or just the fact of like festering on somebody's fears and the creativity that you can come with different kills, with different scenarios, with different fucking, there's just so much other like cool shit that I would want to see more of those things, as opposed to like, hell yeah, Jason's gonna go and he's gonna fucking chop down some motherfuckers or snap somebody in half or some shit. Like, but the creativity that goes into these movies, that's where I find myself like, yo, it'd be kind of cool to like see some more shit going on.
So here's the thing. I want to say this.
Go ahead.
Hold on. I want to say this real quick, because I think this will paint a really good picture and tie into what you were just saying. Okay. Let's look at the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, right? As it stands, we can consider Freddy versus Jason. We won't consider 2009. Okay. But let's just consider that as like, that's like the franchise, right, that we want to include for this, okay? Technically, it's just 6 movies, but we'll just call it this. John, and you're saying, do we need any more of these movies, right? Do we need to do anything?
You know what,
right?
the point, let me just say, the point has slightly shifted for me, because I would say, do we need any more because it's going to be bad? But that's not even like the strength of my point. But because it's not, do we need it? It's more like, why wouldn't we just learn from our mistakes and not have this exist?
Yeah, I can see it.
Well, but John, this is the reason why I think it's important, okay, and why I think we should do it, and it ties right into the Nachos reunion. Do we need a fucking Nachos reunion in 2023, right? Do I want to see it? I'm fucking here for it, right? But like, the first run was pretty fucking good. Okay. So like,
boy.
This fucking guy.
Wow.
Are we willing to like see what's going to happen in November? You know, like I'm here for it. That's why I'm here for the next like for anything that comes next for Nightmare on Elm Street, because I'm a fucking fan. But like,
touche.
Do we need it? I don't know if we need it, but I'm here for it. That's all I gotta say. That's it.
I think, you know what, you're like a straight up genius for like.
That's a good twist.
Like,
yeah,
you're like
that's good.
You really know how to like fuck me big time. Like that's pretty good. Hats off. Hats off. You definitely, no matter what I say now, you win this round. Like
shit,
it's fucking over for me. No matter what I say.
Full circle.
I will say that you would have a stronger point if Weekend Nachos was trying to do another album.
Oh, no. Don't.
Because that would
like,
be...
Here's the thing. I know, you'll say right now it's not going to happen. I'm telling you this for everyone that's listening to this, all right? I know what's going to happen. They're going to play these shows. It's going to be fucking awesome. They're going to realize, hey, you know what? They're all friends. They're going to be like, you know what?
This is pretty cool.
Let's write a 7-inch. We've got material. John comes up with shit all the time. He's going to be inspired. It's going to fucking happen. He's saying no.
I already wrote a song. I already wrote a song, and none of the guys wanted to do it.
It'll happen. I promise you. You'll see what's going to happen in November. You'll see with these shows. Like, let's not say never at this point. All right? Never sleep again. All right? We all got to sleep. All right? We can't say that we ain't going to sleep. Okay? I think that there'll be another record, and that's like, you can put that shit fucking to the bank. Take it to the bank.
Listen, I'm going to stop you right there, and I'm going to say, that when it comes to this nacho stuff, I will never sleep again. Never.
Hell yeah.
Dude, that was pretty
dude.
good, man. I gotta hand it to you.
All right.
Like, bringing
real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick, okay? Because I want to make sure I mention this one piece that I forgot about the script, okay? This is important. John's going to really love this, all right? Originally in the script, okay, when Philip is sleepwalking, he pleads to Freddy. He says, "Why me?" And Freddy says, "Because I like you," as Krueger licks his face, right? To basically kind of go into this whole idea of him being the like child molester, like kind of like backstory. Can you believe that?
Whoa!
Wait,
that would have
wait.
sucked.
He says, "Wait." Philip says, "What? Why are you doing this?"
Yeah. Why me?
Why me?
Why are you doing this to me? And he like responds saying, "Because I like you," and licks his face.
Oh, fuck, dude.
I mean,
it's insane just to think of where this series would have gone if they would have landed on that script.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would have ended up, like, it's cool the way that it ended up being the way that it did, but it would be really interesting to see that kind of, like, even darker aspect going further and how that would even go, between. But, kind of some last thoughts on this, maybe some things that pop out to you. Maybe, we could even say the scene's so good that we could eat donuts on camera. What would we say as far as collectively for this movie? Would we say what's the one scene that pops out to you guys?
Good question.
Either of you motherfuckers.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
All right.
I mean, I think it's Jennifer's kill. I mean, all the kills are awesome, but I think Jennifer's kill is definitely like, could eat donuts on, on camera for that. I would also say, I mean, Nancy's kill at the end of the movie is kind of sad. I know I'm having a range of emotions here from being scared to sad, but it is kind of sad because like, in Patricia Arquette's like so upset because like it's someone she bonded with, through this whole process of like someone that like gets her, and she's a pretty big part of the story and she dies. I would not eat donuts while watching that though. Like, but
Let
I
me
would
ask
for
you this,
Jennifer.
Antonio. Like when you think about that,
Keep
part,
it off camera.
Would you say that? While there's times where Jody has to hand you a pillow during this movie, would you say that when the part when Nancy dies, like, would you say you just kind of like maybe put your head on her shoulder a little bit and just like have her like kind of caress your head a little bit, like just like hey, it's okay, sweetheart,
Dude, I'll show you how it's like this.
Dude, this fucking guy's getting out of his chair. What the hell is this?
Man. Is that a Chiefs pillow? Just to keep you nice and...
It's actually, I don't know. I think it's like a holiday pillow, but it should be a Chiefs pillow.
Beautiful. I love it.
Just wanted to clarify, because you mentioned like the scene's kind of sad,
Listen. I know I keep on talking about how the fucking movie's scary, right? And you're like burning my ass over this fucking shit. But let me tell you right now, all right? This movie doesn't scare me anymore. It doesn't scare. I'm not scared anymore, okay? But I will say, I mean, there's things about the movies that like creep me out, right? Like we were talking about earlier with Philip, right? With like the like that stuff like creeps me out, right? Like I said earlier in like the last episode where we were talking about like Hellraiser, like it still fucking creeps me out. Like,
it's unsettling.
Like to this day. There's not a lot of movies like horror movies that are like that anymore. These are two movies I do. Like Halloween doesn't scare me. None of that stuff scares me or anything like that anymore. But like those things are still like very unsettling. Dude, fuck you, man. I'm not afraid anymore.
I'm scared of Freddy, guys. Like I'm scared of Freddy. Like,
I'm not afraid anymore.
You hear me?
Oh
shit. Oh man, that's great. I would have to agree. I mean, I think the thing, like the highlight moments or scenes from these movies, unfortunately, are like the kills. And since being a little kid, the very first kill, the kind of opening to it, and with the veins and shit. There's something about that, and there's something about the, you know, tearing with the track marks, and for as gross and disgusting it is, and then to do like the close up and like the track marks are like talking and like fucking moving and shit. I'm like,
yeah, it's fucked up, man.
Fuck, man. Certainly sticks with you.
Just because you already said Philip, because that's like what I would have said too, is like the best scene, you know, is Philip's kill is just so brutal and like so, dude, when he all of a sudden like gets like the marionette doll just like gets larger and Freddy's standing at the foot of the bed and he's just like,
yeah,
like
terrifying,
scary.
Fucking.
Oh, what about this? When he's like walking around, he's like,
yeah, dude.
Yeah,
you know, like it's like fucked up. Like it's like when someone grabs you like on the side of like your sideburn and like pulls on it, and you're like, ugh, it's just like a feeling you're not like used to, you know. But like you can see it on his face, like he's like it's totally selling, you know.
Dude, the hypothetical, like the scene that should have been of Freddy with breasts, that would be the scene so good you could eat donuts. Like, no question. It's too bad that didn't happen.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna give like a less expected answer, and I'm gonna say my favorite scene might be just the opening sequence of this movie. Like, I love the way it starts with like the opening credits and like it's just like, you know, the Smart Egg, New Line Cinema Smart Egg Productions like screen it with that weird creepy organ right before it goes into that opening score, you know, with her making the paper mache. Like, dude, I just love that whole, like the way it starts. It really, I remember thinking 4 and 6, like I said earlier, weren't really scary. And even just from the opening credits of 3, I was like, shit, what am I in for now? You know, like this is already scarier, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so. For sure. I gotta say, I mean, I was glad that we were talking this one. You know, it was just as cool as I remember. There were certain scenes, like I say, where there was kind of like lull moments in the middle where I feel like the first one still, you know, edges past, but there's a lot of aspects to this movie where it hits, you know, right on par. I mean, it you know, kind of brings you back in. There's certain aspects that, you know, are a little creepy. You get the little silliness into it. Yeah, this movie's pretty fucking cool. It's pretty rad. I dig it. Absolutely. You know, we're in a couple weeks here digging into part 4, and then New Nightmare. That's going to be really fucking fun here. I got the first episodes all edited. That's going to be up on Friday. We were talking the segments, so the meta as hell moment earlier. You know what? Hold up. The thing that I actually prepared for this was it's kind of like a reverse meta as hell moment, if you will. Hypnosil is the medicine that's in this, and apparently there's actually a reverse kind of true life adding into art, if you will, where there's a real life Hypnosil, and it's called Dream Warrior. It's a sleep aid. It's a real thing. You can buy it online. It's called Dream Warrior.
Yeah, but did it come out before or after the movie?
After.
Okay.
So some dickhead was just like, you know, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and completely get into this.
I'm gonna fucking make melatonin. I'm gonna make melatonin capsules, put it in a fucking like deal and sell it as like sick.
I'm the fucking idiot that tried to buy it.
I'm gonna make
hats off to you for fucking like really trying to sell it. You know, I love that.
Dream Warrior.
I'm gonna make like an erectile dysfunction pill.
Hey.
Called Your Asshole Is Mine. And, I think it's also funny to think about, like, if somebody just joined this and has no context of what that was from earlier.
Dude, how about like a pizza place like in the 4th one where like you can get your loved ones like screen printed on like a piece of sausage while you eat them. It's edible.
I would eat there.
Pizza
possibilities are fucking endless. Holy shit, possibilities. All right, this has been fucking awesome. We've had a couple hours talking this. A couple of weeks here. I forget the exact date, but I'm gonna do kind of like a little blurb on here. You know, closer to the episode. We'll be talking part 4. which is absolutely fucking radical. I was trying to look around and see. I thought I had a part 3, but the other little thing that I found today is I have an official movie adaptation of Freddy's Dead, the old comics I was telling you about. I have like the Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash. And
awesome.
I have this, so that was kind of fucking cool.
Do they have novelizations of the movies?
As far as I know, from what I can remember, they were comics. I don't know if they had like actual books, but I remember seeing this, and I remember seeing a part 4 at like a comic shop that was around here. And for whatever reason, maybe even the artwork of this, like with the dial and shit, I wanted to get this one. And it is sick. I think this is like in a 4-part series, and this is the fucking second one, which is kind of stupid. But I never got the rest of them.
Dude, let's. Are you guys looking at the chat right now? Who's this fucking tryhard spin kick trying to join our thing?
I don't know.
Maybe we should let him. Maybe we should let him in here. Maybe we should see what he's got to say.
I don't. I mean, I can if you want to, but I also don't
Bring
know.
him in for one last minute.
Okay, let's see. Request to join. Sent in. This winds up a Freddy cock just right in our face, and this is fucking John's fault.
Dude, it's actually Kincaid. He's like, what's this all? What's this talk about you shoving someone's arm up my ass?
I'm trying, dude. Let's see. I pushed accept. This is typically how this works.
Maybe he's got stage fright. He's like, oh shit, be careful what you wish for, bro. You just might get it.
You just might get it.
Band.
Sorry, kid. I don't believe in fairy tales.
All right, brother. We'll try next time. I'm not it's not letting me join for whatever reason. I'm trying to get it fucking posted through. But you know what? This has been solid. We're gonna have a couple opportunities here in the next couple nights or a couple weeks. So within October, we're talking part 4 next, and then New Nightmare at the end of the month. This has been sick, boys. I absolutely appreciate you guys tapping in once again.
Right on, guys.
Hell yeah.
Love you.
Yeah. What's on your finger, John? What the fuck is that?
Oh, it's finger paint.
Okay. All right.
Sick.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, fellas. Have a good night. See ya.
Later.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.